So let's start med now. Multi-exit discriminator, and also you can call it matrix. Lower will always be preferred over higher, and it comes under optional non-transitive. Optional non-transitive attribute or transitive attribute. It comes under optional non-transitive attribute, right? So of course it will be optional, because if you configure it, then it will go along with your BGP updates, right? And if you do not configure it, then definitely it will not go along with BGP updates. Now thing is like, for an example, right now if you move on R1, let's configure this R1, because I'm using the older diagram over here. Like my actual diagram, I mean logical diagram, is something like this, that R1 is having neighborship with R5 and R6 in this way, and then further R5 and R6 are connected with service providers, like they are connected with the Sprint, as well as they are also connected with BT, you understand, in this way. Further, BT and Sprint are also interconnected, then New York router is also connected with BT. So in this way your network is designed. So let's move on R1 once again, and you see I will configure it as a route reflector first of all, 65500 neighbor 150.1.5.1 route reflector client, then neighbor 6.1 route reflector client. So IP BGP summary. Neighborship will come up, will take some little bit time, right? But finally neighborship will come up. Wait for a moment. Finally neighborship have came up. So IP BGP for R1, its best path is via R5, and you know very well that why is it via R5, based on IGP cost to reach next hop. So to solve that problem, what can I do? Or I can move back again on R-force at F2 by 0, R-force F2 by 0, and let's configure its OSPF cost as 64, so that the cost IGP cost to reach next hop address would be equal from R1 to reach R5 as well as to reach R6. It means that best path selection will not be performed based on IGP cost to reach next hop, as you can see here now that it is same. So basically its best path selection is not done based on IGP cost to reach next hop now. After that, of course, they are using their router IDs, I mean neighbors router ID, and based on router IDs they have selected their best path. Now because we know very well that of course R5 is having lower router ID than R6, and my requirement is something like this, that for last two prefixes its best path should be via R6 only, and for first two prefixes its best path should remain via R5. So of course you can manipulate it with using MED as well. So by default you can see that if you are receiving prefixes coming from IBGP neighbor, then by default its metric is what? 0. And one more thing, I mean you must remember that if you are advertising your prefixes to your eBGP neighbor, sometimes it will be nothing, sometimes it will be nothing, but sometimes it will be 0. Like for an example, New York router is having all these prefixes as self-advertised prefixes inside its own BGP table. It is giving them to its eBGP neighbor BT, and on BT you can check its BGP table, so IP BGP you see, and by default its metric it is showing now 0. But now when BT will advertise these prefixes towards either Sprint, R5 or R6, so BT was not having these prefixes as self-advertised on itself. It also received these prefixes from another eBGP neighbor. So now if you move on R6 and if you check its BGP table, when it is receiving it from BT, you see that by default metric is what? Null, nothing. So thing is like in some cases metric will be nothing, null, and in some cases of course it will be 0. So here you can see that in most of the cases it is 0, but in some cases it is also nothing, null. But remember that if it is null, then also by default it will be considered something like 0. I mean it's nothing, right? It's 0. Are you okay with it? Finally we are on R1, and once again I want to manipulate its path selection for last two prefixes only, that its best path should be via R6 based on MED. you know very well that lower will always be preferred. So via R5 and R6, via both neighbors, its default MAD is what? 0. So now you cannot configure your MAD lower than 0. So you can configure only higher than 0 only. So do one thing, configure its matrix higher than 0 via R5. Configure its matrix higher than 0 via R5, so that its best path will become via R6 only, right? So do one thing now, create one prefix list, ccie permit last two prefixes only, 102.0/23 greater than equal to 24 less than equal to 24, and then route map name is mat permit, then match IP address prefix list is what? ccie. Then say set matrix is what? 1, because 1 is also higher than 0, and all other prefixes must come with same attributes, with default attributes, right? So I have permitted all others so that they will not be, other prefixes will not be implicitly denied. So all others will also be permitted over here, and now you can move in router mode once again, and then you configure this route map for neighbor. Tell me, for R5 or for R6? For R5 this time, because via R5 you want to configure its MAD higher than via R6. So neighbor R5, and then route map name was MAD in which direction? In, because all prefixes are incoming prefixes, incoming prefixes. So of course you have to apply this route map in its inbound direction only, right? So now do show IP BGP. You will see that there will not be any effect. Once you will say clear IP BGP star in, and then check its BGP table once again. You see, for last two prefixes, its best path has been configured via. Check it out. It's not it. So in this way, you can manipulate your BGP path selection for outgoing traffic, for outbound traffic with using MAT. But again, the question is same. You could achieve the same task with using either wait or. Then what's the uses of this MAT over here? The actual uses of MAD is just to manipulate path selection of ISP routers. The main uses of MAD will also be to manipulate path selection of ISP routers. So let me do one thing, let me remove it from here. Fine. Once again, its best path is via R5 only. Now what will I do? I will create some prefixes on R1 as well, like from fine. So let's move on R1. Sorry, yes, loopback 1 is not there. 100 loopback 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, router BGP, check it out. Now all these prefixes will be advertised in the direction of BT. Fine, let's move on BT now. And one more thing that I would like to do here, I will shut down this link one as well. on R5. This is print, right? So that now R5 and R6 are having connection from the same ISP BT. They are also advertising their prefixes, their own prefixes. I mean, this customer is also advertising its own prefixes in the direction of BT. So now you can find all these prefixes available on BT. And now check that which path is the best path for BT to reach all these prefixes. I think it's via R5. Not for via R5. For one prefix it is via R5, and for other prefixes it is via R6. I mean, it's any one of the router, right? Even you can also do one thing. You can say clear IP BGP start. So once again it will reset its neighborship, and this time we will see that which path is the best path to reach all these hundreds prefixes, right? So IP BGP, you see this time its best path to reach all of them is via R5. Is via R5, because in BGP actually oldest path will take place. So of course it received these prefixes from R5 first, so that is why it has defined its best path via R5. By default it will not compare its router ID, I mean neighbor's router ID, for its best path selection in case of if your neighbor is eBGP neighbor. If your neighbor is eBGP neighbor, then it will never compare their router IDs, but you can force your BGP to use router ID for its best path selection in case of eBGP neighbors as well. I will let you know later on that how can you configure your BGP so that it will also start to compare their router IDs in case of eBGP neighbors as well. So I'll be discussing all these things, and we will also do some configuration related to it, right? So right now we have seen here that again the problem is like link 2 will be overutilized and link 3 will be underutilized. Then you have to call to your BT, you have to call to your ISP, and then of course ISP will work according to according to their SLA, service level agreement. Understood? So this is the problem actually. Now to solve this problem actually you can modify path selection of yes by yourself, even without calling your ISP, with using MET. And one more thing, this time R5 and R6 are receiving these prefixes coming from R1, right, IBGP neighbor, and then it is advertising it towards BT, and that is why here you can see that MED is what? Nothing. Even ISPs can also configure this command, router BGP. See, this time MED was not receiving any prefix with any MED value, right? But ISPs can also configure this command at their own end, like BT, here router BGP 35500 BGP best path they can also configure this command, BGP best path MED missing as worst. So what's the meaning of it? That if any prefix is coming without any MED, then its metric will be considered as a worst metric. So IP BGP 4.2 billions. You understand? So even ISP can also configure this command at their own end. So generally it is necessary for us to advertise any metric along with BGP updates. Previously R5 and R6 was not giving, right now also R5 and R6 are not advertising their prefixes with the metric. They are advertising these prefixes without any MED. Even you can also do one more thing here. Let me capture this link, this one.
So ये command BGP global configuration में
Exactly, router mode.
तो ये जो
Along with that, it was also receiving med 0. If prefix is coming without any med, if it is 0, then it's okay. But if prefixes are coming without any med, then it will configure their metric as worst metric. So now you see, again it has to advertise update. See, R6 have given an update packet. See all hundreds prefixes. Is there med? Under path attribute, is it containing med? Of course no. So there was no med now, right? That is why here it have configured its med as 4.2 billions, because prefixes were coming without any med. So ISPs can also configure this command. So don't be confused if you find something like this. Then after, because I wanted to perform load balancing at the end of ISP, even without having the console of ISP router. To do that, actually what I want now, that for 100.1.0/24 to 100.1.3.0/24, or this time let's say 4.0/24. Up for first 4 prefixes, link 2 should be preferred. For last 3 prefixes 5, 6, 7, its best path should be via link 3. Fine. Have you got my point or not? And you know very well what is the rule, that lower med will always be preferred. So do one thing, for first 4 prefixes, advertise lower med from R5 and advertise higher med from R6 in the direction of ISP. For last 3 prefixes, advertise lower med from R6 towards ISP and advertise higher med from R5 towards ISP. Is not it? So to do that, actually what will I do this time on R5? See, previously in BGP update it was not carrying med value, right? But this time it will start to carry med value. Let me show you now. I have to create one prefix list, CCIE permit. I have to call first 4 prefixes in it. Fine. And then IP prefix list with same name, permit 100.1.4.0/24. So that first 4 prefixes will match with these 2 statements. It is not possible to call all 4 prefixes with using a single command, right? So here I used 2 different statements for a single prefix list to match first 4 prefixes. Now say route map, name is med permit 10, match IP address, prefix list name is set. Tell me, metric is what? For first, let's configure it 1, right? Let's configure it as 1, and then I have to allow all other prefixes as well with higher. Or you do one thing, okay, let me create another statement for the same route map with higher sequence number, and let's say set metric is what? 2. So all other prefixes will be advertised with metric 2, means 100.1.5.0, 6.0 as well as 7.0. They will be advertised in the direction of ISP, but with metric 2. So this time I'm not using match command under this statement of this route map, but I'm using set command, so that all other prefixes will be advertised with metric 2. Just come outside. Say router BGP 65500. Neighbor 200.105.100.1. Route map name is in which direction? Because you are advertising prefixes in this direction, right? You are this time you are not receiving, you are advertising. That is why you have to apply this route map in outbound direction. Do clear IP BGP star. Now move on R6 and configure this R6. So on R6 I will advertise its metric as 1 for last 3 prefixes. To do that, IP prefix list CCIE permit 100.1.5.0 slash, and then IP prefix list CCIE permit 100.1.6.0 slash 23 greater than equal to 24 less than equal to is also. So last 2 prefixes 6 and 7 will match with this statement of this prefix list, right? And then create one another route map over here, route map med permit and match IP address prefix list name was, then set metric is what, 1 for all other prefixes. Yes, don't match anything but say set metric is what, router BGP 65500, neighbor 201.100.100.1, route map name is med in which direction, out. Say do clear IP BGP star out. Let's move on BT now. For first 4 prefixes, its best path is via, is not it? And this time see, when R6 given an update message, see med is going. Is not it? Check it out. And this time it have sent 2 different update messages because med value was different. Let me show you. If you move back again on BT and once again say clear IP BGP star in, so R6 will be responsible to advertise prefixes once again. See, so R6 is giving 2 update packets now because it is having different attribute for different prefixes. This time it is not having same attribute for all prefixes. If it is having same attribute for all prefixes, it will send only 1 update. So first update 678 med is 1, I mean 567, sorry, and in next update packet med is what, 2 4 1 2 3 4, is not it? So if BGP attributes are common for all prefixes, then all of them will be, I mean will go within a single update packet. Understood? So now I have not done anything at the end of BT, but still you will see that BT has modified its path selection now. Check it out. And now see, it is not showing you worst metric, because that command that we configured on BT, it will configure its metric as worst metric if it is not receiving any value along with BGP updates. But this time you can see that for first 4 prefixes, its best path is via R5. For last 3 prefixes, its best path is via Any problem? Fine. And one more thing, in case if any one of the link goes down, then for all prefixes traffic will start to go through another link. So along with the load sharing, you are also having redundancy. And now in T-shoot, what type of problem they can create actually, that whenever they will configure any route map for MAD, I mean for modifying your attribute and all these things, they will not give this another statement, or in place of permit they can say deny. So you have to permit that entry, you have to edit that entry with permit keyword. And also sometimes what happens that they will not create any other statement of the route map. Boss, I was late yesterday because I was fine, guys. So they will, or what can they do, in prefix list they can deny it, and in route map they can permit it. So again it will be, you understand? So that's the problem. So you have to be very careful. So let's move back again on BT, and of course we have achieved our task. But now let's do one thing. Let's start to use this link one as well now. Move back again on our file. Link 3 will also come up. And now because this print US will also start to advertise the same prefixes in the direction of BT, but without any metric. So that BT will also configure its metric as worst metric via sprint. Let me show you. This time it will start to receive these prefixes from 3 different neighbors. I mean, it have also started to use, to receive these prefixes coming from sprint as well. Is not it? So of course its best path will not be via sprint, but now what I decided actually later on, that this time customer observed that for incoming traffic it is using, ISPs are using only link 2 or link 3. Link 1 is not in use at all. Link 1 is not in use at all. So now network admin wants to use link 1 for incoming traffic. Okay, so now we can see that customer experienced that for incoming traffic link 1 is not in use at all, but I want what I want that at least for 100.1.4.0 only for this prefix traffic should come via sprint US. Like customer want that for this specific prefix only incoming traffic should come via link 1. Now I know very well that this election is done by BT, so I'll have to request sprint US to advertise prefix in the direction of BT with lower metric. So right now for this prefix R5 is advertising this prefix with the metric 1, whereas R6 is advertising this prefix with metric 2. So I have to send a request to sprint US that do one thing, for this prefix only advertise your metric as 0, which will be lower than 1 as well as 2. So now I have to send a request to sprint, and sprint has to do this configuration at their own end. So now create one prefix list, CCIE permit 100.1.4.0/24, and create one route map with the name of med permit 10 match IP address prefix list is what? CCIE set metric is what? 0, 4, and all others must go with default attributes, no problem. So router BGP 21545, then neighbor 101.1.10, I think so. Sorry, no, it is 2. It is 2. And then route map name is what? Med in which direction? Out, because Sprint is advertising this prefix is in the direction of BT. Once again, let's move on BT now. Let's check whether election is manipulated or it's not manipulated. See, we have started to use it, to receive its metric as 0 via Sprint, but still its best path is via R5. You can check it out here. Why? Exactly, because before MED it will compare its AS path attribute. Via Sprint it has to across 2 ASs, whereas via R5 and R6 it has to across only one AS. So AS path attribute is coming first, then MED, then metric. Is not it? That is why best path selection is not done based on MED. To solve this problem, because I want to take decision based on MED, now I can ask this BT to do not consider AS path attribute for its best path selection. We can also configure our BGP to do not consider AS path attribute itself for its best path selection. So say router BGP is 35500, BGP best path AS path ignore, and this command is hidden command. You will never be able to see it in question mark. Like here, before ignore, if I put question mark, it will show you unrecognized. Even after best path also AS path is not there. So this command is hidden command. So after running this command, now you see, oh my god, it was this one, right? So now show IP BGP, check its BGP table. Have it defined its best path via Sprint? No, not yet. Do one thing, say clear IP BGP, start hard reset. Let's see whether your changes will take place or not. For 4.0 still its best path is via R5. Piyush, your changes have not taken place. AS path. However, we have asked to BGP to do not consider AS path attribute for its best path selection, but still it is considering it. But it's not considering AS path attribute. But the problem is with MED. Actually, for MED there is a rule that, for an example, this time previously BT was receiving prefixes with different MED from same AS, and it was 65500. So if a router is receiving same prefix from two different neighbors with a different metric, but both of them are in same AS, if neighbors are in same AS, in that case it can compare their MED very easily. But let's say that this time what you did, actually, let's say this is BT, this is R5, and this is what? Sprint. Now Sprint is using 21545, whereas R5 was using 65500, means both of them were in different ASs, right? So if you are receiving same prefix from two different ASs, in that case MED will never be compared. In that case well will never be compared by default. So MED will be compared in that case only when you are receiving prefixes from same AS only. So previously BT was receiving prefixes from same AS 65500, because R5 and R6 were in same AS, but this time Sprint is in different AS. But we can also force this BGP to consider to select its best path based on MED itself. Even it will be receiving prefixes from different ASs. To do that, inside BGP you have to configure this command 355 BGP BGP always compare met. BGP always compare met. Now do show IP BGP. Still its best path is via R5. So do one thing. Say do clear IP BGP star. Hard reset will be required. Hard reset will be required. So this time you will see that its best path for that prefix only will become via. And if you do not configure that ignore AS path command, then again it will not consider this path due to AS path attribute, because via sprint it has to across two ASs, whereas via R5 and R6 it has to across only one AS. So all these commands were required to achieve this task. So I hope that you have came to know that what is the uses of command BGP best path med missing as worst. What is the uses of ignore AS path? AS path ignore, and the uses of always compare med is not it. So we have discussed all these things related to med. Fine. So now you can see that for BT, of course, what is happening for first three prefixes, best path is via R5. You can see that for 100.4.0 its best path is via sprint. For 5 and 6 its best path is via 6. 5, 6, 7. Leo 7 will also be there, don't worry. It's not it. So in this way you can perform path manipulation in BGP. One more thing that I would like to tell you, that in case, let's say this time for R1 its best path is via, tell me, for R1 its best path to reach all these prefixes via R5. I wanna make it via R6 but only for last two prefixes. So what can I do? I will be on BT. See, I will not touch R6, R5 and R1. I'll be on BT only. And on BT what will I do? I'll create one prefix list. First of all, IP prefix list CCIE permit 192.168.102.0/23 greater than equal to and less than equal to also 24. Create one route map with the name of med permit 10. Match IP address prefix list name is CCIE. Set metric like 10 or 50, and all others must go with the default metric. And then I will apply it router BGP 35500. I'll apply it for neighbor R5. So whenever it will advertise these prefixes towards R5, it will advertise last two prefixes with metric 50. So neighbor 200.105.100.5. Route map name is do clear IP BGP star out. Now you see, move on R1. I didn't test R5, R6 as well as R1, but for R1 its best path have been defined as like you can move on R5, show IP BGP. See, it is receiving med 50 from its neighbor R5, you see, and from its IBGP neighbor R6 it is receiving med 0. So lower is always preferred. So even for R5 itself its best path have become via R6 to reach last two prefixes. You understand? So in how can you use all these things? Like for an example, see, this is my R1, R2, R3. This network is connected in this way. I mean, this is customer network. This is service provider network. Fine. You have taken connection, customer have taken connection from R3 as well. I mean, 2 connections, right? Fine. And then here behind this R1 and R2, you are having data center. Now this customer wants that all incoming traffic should come via link. This is link 1 and this is what? Link 2. So customer wants that whole incoming traffic which is coming from data center towards customer must come via link 1 only. So whenever this customer will advertise prefixes in the direction of service provider, via R2 it will advertise with lower metric, via R1 it will advertise with higher metric. So that for all routers which are participating at the end of ISP service provider, their best path to reach customer will be via link 1. So whenever traffic will come from data center towards customer, it will come via link 1 only. Have you understood it or not? Hello? I just proved it. Fine. So in this manner you can use MED. Fine. MED is done. Once again it is on default state. After MED, next was external. Will always preferred over, and you cannot manipulate it. To internal prefix you cannot make external, and for to your external prefix you cannot make it internal. But remember that before that all other attributes must match. Is not it? And then after external internal it was ICP cost to reach next hop. We have already proved it. Then after it was oldest path. Already proved it for EBGP neighbor. Then after it lower router ID. Already proved it. Then after it lower neighbor IP. It has also, I mean, we have already proved all these things now. Fine. Then I also told you that for eBGP neighbors also you can force to your BGP to consider their router IDs for their best path selection. Like you do one thing, move back again on BT, show IP BGP, check it out. But before that, let's do one thing, router BGP 35500. Do show run 5 section router BGP. Let me show you. I mean, let me remove the existing configuration of BGP from this router now. and then say hard reset. Wait. Check it out. Once again, best path is via, see, for first prefix it is via R6. For all it is via R6 actually. But if you clear it once again, might be that it will be via R5. I mean, sometimes it will be via R5, sometimes it will be via R6. But if I want to force my BGP to consider router ID for its best path selection for eBGP neighbors as well, then say router BGP 35500 BGP best path compare right, BGP best path compare router ID. Still its best path is via R6, but do one thing, say clear my god, wait, clear IP BGP start. Fine, we have given this command now. Show IP BGP. Just wait for a moment so that however, it started to receive these prefixes later on via R6, but again it has defined its best path via. So this time it is not considering oldest path. This time it have started to consider their router IDs. Tell me if you are having any problem, please let me know. Is there any problem? No. Let's talk about equal cost load balancing in BGP. BGP also supports load balancing, but by default maximum path is configured as 1. Like if you move on R1, so right now its best path is via R5 only, and if you check its routing table as well, show IP route BGP, its best path is via R6 only based on router ID, because this time R6 is having lower, and this is IBGP for R1. Both of them are IBGP neighbor, and for IBGP by default, I mean, automatically it will consider their router IDs for their best path selection. But for eBGP neighbor, of course, it does not consider their router IDs for best path selection by default. Here it is considering it. Fine, good. But it is not performing load balancing. As I said earlier on, that to perform equal cost load balancing in BGP, all attributes up to IGP cost to reach next hop must match. To achieve load balancing in BGP, all attributes up to IGP cost to reach next hop must be same, must match. If any one of the attribute do not match up to IGP cost to reach next hop, then it will not be possible for BGP to perform equal cost load balancing. But right now you can see show IP BGP 192.168.100.0 via both neighbors, everything is perfect, all characters are matching. See, by default maximum path is 1. Router BGP 65500. Now say, because this time for R1 both neighbors are IBGP neighbors, so you have to add and then say 2 or 3 or 4, can be up to same as IGPs, right? So this time I have said maximum paths IBGP 2. Show IP route BGP. This is your routing table now. This is not BGP table, this is routing table. And if you check show IP BGP table now, still its best path is via R6. Now you will say, sir, if it is performing equal cost load balancing, then why is it defining its best path? It has to define its best path because it has to advertise only best path information towards its neighbor. But now if you open any prefix over here, what is it showing you? Multipath means it has installed both of them into its routing table. Tell me. Even if your ICP cost to reach next hop is not common, then also it will not be able to perform load balancing. Let's prove it. Move on R4, and here I configure its cost as make it 10. Move back again on R1. Just wait for a moment. Go multipath. Because now ICP cost to reach next hop is not same. Do show IP route. See, show IP route. Is it performing load balancing now? So that is why I said that all attributes up to ICP cost to reach next hop must be same. Just wait. Now see, again it have started to perform equal cost load balancing because multipath have appeared once again over here. See. Fine guys, is there any problem now? In same manner, even you can also perform load balancing for eBGP neighbors as well. Like right now this BT is receiving these prefixes coming from R5 as well as R6. All attributes up to ICP course to reach next hop are same. You see, show IP BGP 100.1.0. Check it out. Apart from this one, it's coming from 21545. Yeah, this one is not it. So now if I say router BGP 355.0.0, maximum path is what? For eBGP neighbors you can use simple maximum path 2. You are not required to add keyword maximum paths eBGP and then 2. So maximum paths 2 will work for eBGP neighbors only. If you are having IBGP neighbors, then you have to add keyword IBGP. Show IP BGP once again 100.1.0 C multipath via R5 and R6 have installed, not via sprint. See, the entry which is via sprint, it have not mentioned multipath keyword over there, has it? So that is why it means that it have not installed that path into its routing table. So now show IP route BGP, check it out. It's not it. So in this way you can achieve load balancing, I mean to say equal cost load balancing in BGP. Fine. Have a TOTI authentication in BGP? Fine. After it, let's go for aggregation, route summarization in BGP. Fine. So to understand aggregation, I mean, like, do one thing. Let's move back again on our one. Interface loop back 1, shut it down. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is receiving these 4 prefixes individually coming from R5 and R6. Now let's say R5 and R6 are receiving all these prefixes coming from BT as well as Sprint individually. Are you getting my point or not? And let's also do one more thing here. Move on R5 and router BGP 65500 neighbor. Shut it down. I mean, I'm just I have shut down the link 1, right? So right now link 2 and link 3 are in use only. So move back again on R5. So it is receiving prefixes coming from R6, because this time R6 is having lower router ID. Let's move back again on R6 and let's configure its router ID. I mean, let's remove its router ID from here, so it will pick its default router ID, so that you will see once again for R1 its best path will be defined via R5. So R5 and R6 are receiving these prefixes coming from BT, and then R5 and R6 are giving those prefixes further to R1. Right? Now R1 do not have that much capability or that much good hardware configuration so that it can install a huge number of prefixes in its BGP table as well as routing table. But yeah, R5 and R6 are having very good configuration because these two routers are customer edge routers. So R5 and R6, they have very good hardware configuration, but let's assume that R1 do not have that much good hardware configuration. Fine. So R5 and R6 are having a huge number of prefixes available inside their BGP table, and also are advertising all those prefixes in the direction of R1. But R1 is not much capable to have to store all those prefixes in its BGP table as well as routing table. So how can we solve this problem now? Of course, summarization. Because if you do not summarize prefixes here, then R1, I mean the performance of R1 will be very slow, or it will be slowed down. Right? Now you have some options over here. You can perform summarization at the end of New York router, but let's say that you do not have the console of New York router. You can also configure summarization at the end of BT as well, but let's assume that you do not have the console of BT as well. You are having console of your own network only, right? So how will you solve this problem? You can perform aggregation on R5 as well as on R6 in this way. Let me show you on R5 and R6. Right now it is receiving these prefixes coming from BT. So what will be aggregate address for all these things? So aggregate address 192.168.100.0. Subnet mask will be 252.0. In same manner on R6, aggregate address 192.168.100.0, and then of course this is your aggregate address actually, right? Now after configuring this aggregate address command here on R5C, it will keep this aggregate address in its BGP table automatically, see, and it will install it towards null zero interface as well. Do you remember that all routing protocols put summary address towards null in their local routing table? So R5 have installed this summary address aggregate address in its BGP table. In same manner R6 will also install this aggregate address in its local BGP table, and then we'll start to advertise it towards all other devices here. Like if you move back again on R1, so you must receive that aggregate address over here from both of them. So you are receiving this aggregate address coming from R5 as well as R6, but prefixes are also coming individually. So remember, by default BGP will not suppress your prefixes in its aggregate address. BGP will not suppress automatically individual prefixes in its aggregate address. To achieve that, you have to move back again on R5, and you see, if I open this aggregate address, received from RR client, yeah, that's fine, and see what is happening over here. Aggregated by this R6, aggregated by R5, and atomic aggregate and atomic aggregate, these attributes are there. Aggregator and atomic aggregate, these two attributes were there. Do you remember? Yeah. Aggregator and atomic aggregate, right? You do one thing, move back again on R5 and router BGP 65500 along with this aggregate address, say summary only, so that it will start to suppress all other prefixes which are coming in this summary address, in this aggregate address. So it will suppress all individual prefixes. In same manner I will move on R6. Summary only. Miss note it, check it out, summary only. Now also you can open its BGP table, see, atomic aggregate and aggregated by R6. Use. Just wait. But this time you can see that attributes have not been copied from individual prefixes from individual prefixes into summary address. Attributes were not copied back. Hello. Attributes were not copied from individual prefixes into summary address, and due to that, what is happening now? See, you try to understand now. It have not copied AS path attribute from individual prefixes into summary address. That is why the summary address is also going back towards BT now. Check it out. Is not it? And BT have given the summary address back to New York router. However, these individual prefixes were generated by New York router itself, and this New York router have received this summary address back. It can cause a routing loop. It can cause a routing loop, and it is happening because at the time of aggregation, attributes were not copied from individual prefixes into summary address, into your aggregate address. But if you want to achieve that, then you do one thing. Along with summary only, you can also say AS set. Move on R6 as well and configure same command. After summary only, you can also say, once you will configure this AS set keyword, then it will copy all attributes from individual prefixes into summary address as well. So this time, whenever this summary address will go back towards BT, BT will find it's on AS. So will it be possible for BT to receive that prefix this time? That summary address, is it having that summary prefix now? No. Will this BT advertise that summary prefix in the direction of New York router now? So of course there will not be any. Still it is having. Just wait, it will be removed. See, it has been removed now, right? Because BGP converge slowly. Now you move back again on R1. So this time in BGP table you are having only one prefix, and see, AS path attribute is there now. And then after, once again try to open this BGP table, and you see atomic aggregate is not there now. Only aggregator is there. Only aggregator is there. Atomic aggregate is not there. Atomic aggregate, if atomic aggregate is not there, it means that it has copied attributes from individual prefixes into aggregate address. But if atomic aggregate is there, which means that attributes were not copied from individual prefixes into your aggregate address. So it will show you atomic aggregate in your BGP table till you use, till you are not using AS set keyword. Once you will start to use AS set keyword, then it will start to copy your attributes from individual prefixes into aggregate address as well. So I hope that you people have understood the uses of AS set keyword. So if you do not put AS set keyword, then of course there will be some possibilities of formation of routing loops. Have you understood it or not? Yes. So this is the uses of AS set, and we are also having some other keywords as well. I'll be discussing all those keywords with you, but before that, do one thing. So in this way you can use summary only and AS set keywords, and these are the uses of all these keywords. Then after it, you are also having suppress map over here. You are also having suppress map. What is happening actually, like on R5, when you configure this aggregate address, show IP BGP, you can check it out. It has suppressed all of them which were coming into this aggregate address. It has suppressed all those prefixes which were coming into this aggregate address. Is not it? In same manner, if you move on R6, here also it has suppressed all prefixes which are coming into this summary address, into this aggregate address. It has suppressed all of them. Sometimes what happens that due to load balancing purpose or load sharing purpose, or due to some requirements, you will not require to suppress all those prefixes which are coming into that aggregate address. You will require to suppress some of them, some of the prefixes into your aggregate address. Like for an example, this time what I want that I wanna suppress, like on R5 I wanna suppress only 100, 101 and I mean these two prefixes only. I wanna suppress 100.0/24, 101.0/24 into this aggregate address, and I want that all others like 102 and 103 should advertised individually along with aggregate address. Or we can also do it on R6 as well. Like on R6, what can we do? That for first two prefixes should get suppressed only. Other prefixes should advertise individually along with aggregate address. So for that purpose, you can use suppress map. Like for an example, show IP prefix list. Prefix list is already there. No IP prefix list name was show IP prefix list. There is no prefix list now. Now say IP prefix list Cisco permit 191.168.100.0/23 greater than equal to 24 less than equal to 24. Create one route map over here. Route map name was
suppress map.
Let's say it is suppress map permit match IP address prefix list was simple. And this time you will not apply it for neighbor. That is why it is not necessary to allow all others. If you are applying this route map for a particular neighbor, then definitely for their incoming updates, then definitely you have to allow all others as well. But this time you are not going to apply this route map for any neighbor. You will be using this route map just to, along with aggregation actually. That is why you are not allowed to permit all others, or you are not allowed, not allowed actually, you are not required actually. You are not required to create any other statement of the route map, right? So now what will you do actually? Router BGP 65500 as you configured aggregate address command over there, and then after you said a set, and then after a set you can also say suppress map, and then your route map name. Route map name I took suppress underscore map, enter. So this time it will suppress only those prefixes into this aggregate address which were permitted in your route map. So in route map you permitted only first two prefixes 100 and 101 only. So you see this time do show IP BGP table, check BGP table of R6. See 100.0 has been suppressed as, and 101 has also suppressed. Has it suppressed 102 or 103? No. So now these prefixes will be advertised by R6 individually. You see, along with the summary address. Aggregate address is also coming from R6, but along with that aggregate address it is also receiving 102 and 103 individually, because you didn't suppress them in your aggregate address. Have you understood it or not? So this is the uses of suppress map. So in suppress map you will specify, you will permit all those prefixes to whom you wanna suppress. Are you getting the meaning by suppress? Do you understand the meaning by suppress? Suppress is not leak map. In leak map you were telling that which prefixes will be advertised individually.
Yeah.
Here you are telling which prefixes which will be part of aggregate address, and all others will automatically advertised individually. So it is just reverse to the leak map. So in suppress map you are simply specifying that only these prefixes will get suppressed into your aggregate address. Understood? Good. Let's move back again on R6, and you can see now that for this aggregate address its best path is via R5, but these two prefixes are coming individually from R6 only. So based on longest prefix match, traffic for these two last prefixes will go via R6, and in case if R6 goes down, then the whole traffic will go via R5, and even R5 goes down, then also whole traffic will go via R6. So basically suppress map will be used just to manipulate path selection. So let's move back again on R6 and fine. Once again, it will suppress all of them. It means R1 will receive only and only aggregate address. Fine. Let's do leak map now. But here in BGP, we do not call it leak map. Here we will call it unsuppressed map. We will call it unsuppressed map. So in BGP, unsuppressed map is same as leak map in ESGRP. So in suppressed map, you were specifying that which prefixes should get suppressed. But in unsuppressed map, you will specify that which prefixes should not
Unsuppressed.
should not suppressed. Have you understood it or not? So unsuppressed map is same as leak map. But remember that unsuppressed map can be configured. Unsuppressed map can be configured only on that router where you have configured aggregation. Same as leak map was, it was possible to configure leak map only on that router where you configuring that summary address. Because along with summary address only you could define leak map. In same manner, in BGP also, unsuppressed map can be configured only on that router where you have configured aggregation. So let's say that for 103 only, 103, I wanna see that for R1 its best path should be by R6. So from R6 we can advertise this 103.0 individually on /24 itself. From R6 only, right? So let's move back again on R6. First of all, create one prefix list. No IP prefix list. It was Cisco. Show IP prefix list. No prefix list. IP prefix list. CCIE. Permit 192.168.103.0/. Now create one route map with name of unsup permit 10. Match IP address prefix list name is what? So it will start to advertise your prefix individually, which is permitted inside this prefix list. Right? Now apply it. Till now you have just created this route map, right? Now finally apply it. And if you are going to apply unsuppressed map, it will not be configured along with your aggregate address command. This time it will be applied for neighbor actually. Like on R6 you can say router BGP 65500 neighbor 150.1.1 unsuppressed map. This is not route map. That is why I didn't permitted all others. Hello. You are not calling, you are not applying route map for this neighbor. You are applying what? Unsuppressed map. So what does it mean? That whenever it will advertise any prefix, any update towards this neighbor, then it will advertise this prefix individually. So unsuppressed map and then it's route map name. You see, it was unsup. In which there is no direction, route. Hello, because the meaning of unsuppressed map that it will advertise this prefix individually, right? So there is no direction for this command because this is not route map. This is unsuppressed map. Move back again on R1 now. Clear IP BGP start. If you move back again on R6 you won't be able to see anything. Here if you look at its BGP table, it will show you that okay, all of them have suppressed. But whenever it will advertise prefixes, it will advertise an update towards that neighbor. It will advertise this 103 individually, right? So this unsuppressed map is same as leak map. So I hope that you people have also understood the uses of unsuppressed map. And again, the uses of unsuppressed map will be just to manipulate path selection in BGP. Like previously, R1 was receiving only and only aggregate address, and for that aggregate address, its best path was via R5. but I wanted that R1 should transmit traffic for 103 subnet via R6. So from R6 I advertise this 103.0 individually on /24. So based on longest prefix mesh for this prefix, it will transmit its data in the direction of R6 only. Tell me. So in this way you can use unsuppressed map. Fine. Move back again on R6. Once again it is receiving only and only. Fine. If you wanna modify attributes, of your aggregate address, then we are having attribute map. If you wanna modify attributes of your aggregate address, then we are having attribute map. Like for an example, I wanna define its best path via R6. So via R5 I can define its origin code as what? Question mark. So you do one thing, move back again on R5 and create one route map. Name is with the name of attribute map. So attrib commit 10, match all is by default there. Simply say set origin is what? Incomplete. That's it. Just come outside. Router BGP 65500. You configured here aggregate address is set, and then after you can say attribute map, and then your route map name. It was simple. Check is on BGP table now. For this summary address, its attribute, its origin code is now question mark. That is why for R1 its best path will become via so this is the uses of attribute map, just to modify the attributes of aggregate address. In same manner, you are also having advertise map. In same manner, you are also having advertise map. You know what happens actually? Like for an example, this is R1 and this is R2. This is ISP1, let's say, and this is what? ISP. R1 is receiving some prefixes from ISP1 like 10.1.1.0/24, 2.0/24, 3.0/24. R1 is also receiving some prefixes coming from ISP2, 4.0/24, 5.0/24, 6.0/24, 7.0/24, right? And they are coming individually from ISP1 as well as from ISP2. It was receiving different prefixes from both ISPs now. And then R1 decided to aggregate them and advertise them towards R2 in a single prefix. So on R1 you will configure aggregation. So because this time it is receiving these prefixes coming from two different ISPs with different attributes. Of course, AS path attribute will be different. Is not it? So what will happen now, that whenever on R1 you will configure aggregate address, it will copy AS path attribute coming from ISP1 as well as ISP2 onto your aggregate address. Are you getting my point? By default in aggregate address it will copy attributes coming from ISP1 as well as ISP2. But let's say that you wanted to copy attributes of all those prefixes into your aggregate address which were coming from ISP1 only, not from ISP2. In that case you will use advertise map. So basically with using advertise map you will tell to your BGP that from these prefixes only you have to copy attributes into your aggregate address. From these prefixes only you have to copy attributes into aggregate address. Let me prove it actually. what will I do now? Let me turn on link 1 as well. Let me shut down this R6. R6 will be receiving prefixes coming from R5 only now. Fine. Then move on a sprint as well. No connectivity in between sprint and BT now. Advertise some prefixes from sprint and also advertise some prefixes from BT. From sprint, create some loopbacks. Two dot 0, 3.0, router BGP 21545 network, then on BT as well. Fine. Router BGP. Move on R5 now. It is receiving prefixes coming from two different ASs. It will advertise them towards R1 individually. Let's say I want to configure aggregation now. So you can configure it on R5. See, let's configure it. Router BGP. Aggregate address 50.1.0.0 245 252 or 248, and then say summary, and then you can say use IP BGP. All of them have suppressed into this aggregate address, and it have copied C214545 as well as 355. I mean from both. From all prefixes it have copied AS path attribute, right? And then it will advertise it in the direction of R1 now. So IP BGP 50.1.1.0. See, aggregated by this. Fine. Now in this aggregate address I just wanted to have, let's say I just wanted to have only 35500, not 21545. So for that purpose, I can use advertise map in this way. First of all, IP prefix list test permit 50.1.4.0/22 greater than equal to 24 less than equal to 24. I mean, I wanted to copy attributes from these prefixes only, right? Then create one route map with the name of attrib for attribute map permit 10. Sorry. I mean, you can take any name, doesn't matter. Route map, advert, permit 10. Match IP address prefix list name was, and then router BGP 65500. You configured aggregate address here. Yes, set, and then say advertise map. Name is what? add word. Simple. Do show IP BGP. This is your summary address, but this time in this aggregate address you can find AS35500. So it will copy attributes from those prefixes only that you called in your advertise map. Hello. So again you are using it just to modify your attributes, but it's a different thing, right? You cannot achieve this task with using attribute map, because with using attribute map you cannot perform prependation, you cannot remove any AS. You can change its local preference, origin code, something like that. So I hope that you people have understood it now. Is there any problem? Sure. So in this way you can use advertise map. So I have covered now all available maps in BGP along with aggregate address. Route map you can apply it by yourself, right? Along with aggregate address you can also call route map. Even you can see here that I have covered all these components. After AS set, see, you are having like advertise map, attribute map, route maps, summary only, suppress map, and suppress map is not there because it will be configured per neighbor basis. So we have covered all these options now available in BGP. This is all about aggregation. Fine. Let's talk about communities in BGP now. Now,
But the CPU utilization is more for